Snipers, you have to see what's happening to the Bitcoin price this Mondays. I don't have much time, but our weekly on-chain exchange flow showing over $200 million in Bitcoin entering exchanges and over $718 million of Ethereum entering exchanges, but $250 million of USDT leaving exchanges. We want US dollars to come on exchanges if we want to see Bitcoin and Ethereum move to the upside, because that means people are buying Bitcoin and Ethereum. But with this on-chain outflow of Bitcoin and Ethereum, we have to address the bearish side of the equation today. And a lot of you guys gave me criticism about the inverse head and shoulder pattern that we covered 2 days ago, when I clearly said to you, before we tested 44,800, that if we were to reject 44,800 and come below 41,950, that I am putting the inverse head and shoulder completely off the table. I was the first analyst to say that if 41,950 were to break, that there's a likelihood we could most likely come even below 30,000 US dollars, but the range that we'd have a support with is at 38,000 US dollars. And so we've been exactly on the dot with our technical analysis here on the Snipers channel, the #1 cryptocurrency channel on YouTube, and the #1 technical analysis. Smash like one for the YouTube algorithm if you support this content. But our prices have been exactly on the dot. As a matter of fact, notice here on our Discord, we have been shorting altcoins. And so you cannot sit here and tell me that on February 19th, we did not take 2 short positions on 2 SHIT coins, because obviously we were breaking the major support at 41,950, and I clearly said to you guys that that was a bearish scenario, and that when I did post that inverse head and shoulder pattern 2 days ago, that the only reason I was putting it back on the table was because #1, we saw volume come in that we haven't seen since the first test of 44,800, and Bloomberg covered the inverse head and shoulder pattern. So I just threw it out there, but I was very clear on that video as well, saying that it's very unlikely 40,000 holds. So I want to talk about what I'm expecting now. I'm not getting bearish about Bitcoin like everyone on Twitter and Instagram, but I'm going to give you the bullish potential, the bullish case, and what's happening right now, because exactly as we predicted, let's hop straight into these charts. We have seen support at 38,000 US dollars, and this is exactly what we were expecting, the range that we're in, 41,950 to 38,000. Let's start with this weekly candle. Notice how we have a rejection of 44,800, and we have a rejection of the body of this weekly candle of 41,950. Does that tell me that we're going to be seeing further downside? Well, we definitely have to address some downside scenarios because of the candle symmetry that we're seeing right now. So we're going to do that today, and it wasn't just Bitcoin that did this. If we look at the S&P 500, you can see we have a bearish candle to close the week, and it was a rejection. And you can see we're even below this 50-week moving average. And I've been saying this about the S&P 500 until we form any further lows from this initial consolidation that we've begun around the 18th of February. I don't expect Bitcoin to fall below 34,000 US dollars. But with the likelihood of this potentially happening, we have to address the fact that if we see the S&P 500 cross below these local consolidation lows with the E-mini futures contract at 42.12, if we cross below 42.12, that downside scenario for Bitcoin comes on the table to break back below the $34,000 level. And you guys know, as I've been saying, since we came up and we failed to form the inverse head and shoulder, I said if 41,950 were to break, that I do not expect this type of scenario to come on the table, or even this type of scenario, that I would expect potentially this scenario to be on the table. So I want to address this downside scenario. And for those that remember and that are actually tuned into the Snipers channel, please put it in the comments below that I did say that, because obviously there are people that maybe watch 2 seconds of our video and then make an assumption and put comments out there that are extremely incorrect and inaccurate. And so let's talk about what the potential downside scenario could be, because understand this, at the end of the day, yes, we're seeing downside in markets. Look, Netflix down 24% in the last 6 months. Adobe down 28% in the last 6 months. Facebook down 40% in the last 6 months. Shopify down 54% in the last 6 months. PayPal down 60% in the last 6 months. Oh, wait, Bitcoin down 8% in the last 6 months. OMG, we are in such a bear market. Bitcoin is not doing well. Why are we trusting Vitalik Buterin with our life savings? All of these things that we're seeing on Twitter, complete BS. Cryptocurrency market's holding up the best right now. with all of the Russia to Ukraine narratives, with the inflation narratives. And so at the end of the day, the question is, the reversal is going to come. When is it going to come? What level is it going to come? And where do we want to look for a confirmation of this? Because obviously, with Bitcoin below 38,000 US dollars, that's a great time to be dollar cost averaging in one of the most bullish assets in history that will hit 250,000 US dollars, at least 150,000 US dollars in this bull cycle. And we are entering into a very short-term correction. Totally fine. My positions from a year ago that I obtained at 6,000 to 8,000 US dollars are still 5x in profit. And so you can't sit here and say that we're in a detrimental bear market where there's been a capitulation, because that's just not the case. So let's go back onto the charts and talk about exactly what downside scenario we could expect if we see hourly and 4-hour candles close below 38,000. The significance of that is that we are back below the monthly and weekly open. And so I've been saying that because the volume and the range of 34,788 to 38,000 has already been cleared, that there is a potential we slice through this area and we even breach the low of the macro channel support that we initially tested here on the Sniper channel. Took a long position here, not just on margin, but also on spot. But if we come back down for a second test, the likelihood that the door will open on a second knock becomes highly likely. And so what happens if 34,788 breaks? Realize this, the next range support is 25,880. And so this puts us in a very large and volatile range if we break below 34,708. And the first confirmation would be coming below 38,000, because that's an extremely important level. Now, 36,500 is also an extremely important level. And just below that is 34,788. But we've already tested those levels. We've cleared the order books. So we cannot expect them to hold if we break below 38,000, which is why I was so adamant that we potentially see further downside if we reject 44,800. Now, the last thing I want to address here before we go into the quick bullish case is the reason this support here on the macro is so important is because we took the $64,000 high and the $69,000 high. We drew a channel. Channels are very subjective, but when you have two extremely important points of contact, it doesn't become as subjective. We found out that we bottomed out around the $29,000 level in July of 2021. And now you can see we've come for the second retest of this channel. And at this point, we've already had that retest. If we come for a third time, that's why this is extremely important. This could be the worst area here for Bitcoin, but it could be the bottom. And you know, here's something that one of my buddies, one of the largest Bitcoin holders in the world, he's a billionaire in the space. I'm not even gonna name him. But if you want to watch my video with Charles Hoskinson, by the way, link is in the description below. Great friend of mine as well, another billionaire in their space. But I'll tell you what their mindset is. Bear markets are bearing fruit. Bear markets bear fruit. Bull markets are bullish. So that's the mindset you need to have right now. And that's the main point of this video. And then to wrap up with the bullish case, I want to talk about some revolving parts. And then I have to go back to this Wim Hof Winter Expedition Academy here in Poland. Is the fact that the midpoint of any range is always very significant. And so if we want to assume right now that we could see some upside, because the trick trap and frustrator crew love to come in when everyone's so bearish, we just have to keep in mind that 40,000 is the midpoint of this range right now. And so if we start to see any candles get above 40,000, that could be the early confirmation that we're gonna have a test of 41,950. Now, 41,950 is the checkpoint the bulls need, not 40,000. I don't care what any analyst says. If we want to assume any sort of bullish price action for Bitcoin right now and any sort of reversal. And so we need to see 41,950 get conquered if we want to see any further upside, talk about bullish upside or talk about any upside scenarios. But at this point, because we invalidated this inverse head and shoulder, and we gave you guys the earliest confirmation of this, regardless of what anyone says, I said, as soon as we rejected 44,800, if 41,950 were to come back on the table and break, that the likelihood we'd come down was on the table. And that's exactly what's happening, exactly as predicted. It's not a coincidence here that our daily candle low 2 days ago for Bitcoin was 38,000 US dollars on the 20th. And so here's the revolving parts, and I'm going to wrap up this video. Remember to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you've yet to do so, youtube.com/snipers. Ethereum to Bitcoin chart right now is going to be giving us an early sign of the fear inside of the cryptocurrency market, and it's yet to move. The altcoins outside of Ethereum, because of this, have yet to break this major support that it's testing for a sixth time. I do expect this to potentially be the first confirmation of whether or not we're going to see a prolonged bear market, or if this is just a garden variety correction to see further upside, maybe even new all-time highs. So we're monitoring those, but nothing yet to talk about and tell grandma about. But when we look at what's happening to the traditional markets, DXY currently staying calm. That's exactly what we want right now, but it is showing strength at 95.885 because it's sitting there and having a cup of coffee, which means it's waiting for its next move, but it's certainly not being rejected. The S&P 500 is what we want to monitor. This is what's causing this dramatic, all this crazy stuff that we're seeing here on Twitter is because of what's happening in traditional markets. But guess what? Bitcoin has been holding up the best. Not a surprise, the number one asset in the world. So as much as people get bearish, realize Bitcoin down 8% in the last 6 months, while PayPal down 60% in the last 6 months. So don't sit here and tell me that, Bitcoin ain't a bullish asset. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up and say this. The markets are extremely volatile right now. There's a lot of narratives being made, but at the end of the day, technical analysis is black and white. And so for those that have been tuned to the Cypher channel, we've been on the dot in the most accurate channel over the last 6 months, over the last 5 years, actually, for every single day making videos on Bitcoin. But really in the last 6 months, we've been on the dot with the exact prices to the dollar, to the T. And so realize this right now, we are in the range with a support of 38,000 and a resistance of 41,950. If we start to see weakness below 38,000, we've already cleared the order books. The next major support's 36,500 and 34,788. Realize this though, if we come down below that level, that could be Bitcoin entering into its bottom phase where we break below 34,788. We come to test the lows that we saw in July, around 29,000, maybe even form a little bit of a lower low with 25,880 being the support of that channel. We have to realize that that could be the floor. I do not personally expect Bitcoin to come back below 19,000 US dollars, the previous all-time high from 2017. We've entered a new matrix. We've seen the US print 20% of all US dollars in the last 12 months. And you guys might be asking why I'm out here in the freezing cold when it's snowing and I could literally just walk into a sauna right now and enjoy the heat. It's because I'm here at the Wim Hof Winter Expedition and I have to actually get back to that right now. So I hope you enjoyed this content. If you guys appreciate this content and support it, remember to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And with that, I think that's all I wanted to cover today. Until next time, snipers out. Wait. Man, I did that wrong. I've never done it wrong. From Poland, snipers